Hello and welcome to the God is a Geek podcast, episode 531. I'm your host, Adam Cook, pointing to you when I meant to point to me, and I'm here with Chris Hyde. Hello, Chris. How are you?
Hello, mate. I'm good. I am excited. Excited to talk about what we're going to talk about.
Okay, well, we'll get to that in just a moment, but not without introducing the one and only Lyle Carr. Hello, Lyle.
Hello. Oh, it's an exciting week for games, I reckon, isn't it? And admittedly, there might be some games that we're not talking about that some people might be excited about, but those people are idiots because the games we're talking about are the best games. So don't even fucking think about any other games.
Well,
Other games don't exist.
Let's just get straight into it then. First game on the list this week is the one and only Sea of Stars, gentlemen.
Never
the only Star game you ever need.
Is that true?
I agree. Yes, it's a 10 out of 10, isn't it? So it must be true.
Yeah,
what else could you need more than Sea of Stars? If you finish Sea of Stars, you can just play it again, and it'll probably still be great.
It's funny you say that.
Yes,
Adam Cook.
I was sat yesterday looking at the Xbox, and I was like, it's on Game Pass. I could just download it and start again, and I did, so there you go.
So there you go.
Yeah, I just thought about like the achievements and stuff. Like, it'd be nice to have the achievements as well as the trophies, because I played on PS5 while you guys played on PC, didn't you?
Yeah.
We should. I mean, you're seeing it on screen if you're watching the video version of this pod, and we should talk about what this is, because it's a turn-based RPG from the people who brought you The Messenger. And The Messenger is not a turn-based RPG. The Messenger is kind of in the same way this is almost like a modern tribute to that style of game. The Messenger is kind of a modern tribute to... I don't know, really. I mean, it's not Mega Man, because they're terrible games, but like...
All right, calm down.
No, but you know what I mean. Like, it is.
No.
I mean, in terms of, it's not like a Mega Man game, is it? It's what is it? What would you?
I've not played it, but no, sure.
Oh, of course you haven't. It's a 2D side.
I can't help you here either, mate. So you're digging your own grave.
The Messenger, right, is a 2D side-scrolling platform game with melee combat and magic.
Yeah.
It's more, I guess, more feels closer to a Castlevania. It's more that kind of game. But it was a 2D side-scrolling platformer, so when you hear that the developer is making a turn-based RPG, you do go, wow. I mean, we talked about this, Lyle, didn't we? The only other developer I can think of that regularly does this is the SteamWorld people, who kind of change genre because they can, and I think it's a cool thing, and it sometimes works better than other times. Like, they did like a Dig Dug style Metroidvania, and then they did an RPG, or they did an RPG. They did like a card-based strategy game, and they're now making like a SteamWorld Builders. I haven't played it. It looks like more of a creative sandbox style game. So they do that. We're not talking about that. Sea of Stars has gone from the 2D side-scrolling action-adventure to a turn-based RPG, and you gave it a 10 out of 10 on GodIsAGeek.com.
I sure did, and you can read or watch that review on any of the God is a Geek channels or sites and all that jazz. But yeah, I gave it a 10 because it's really, 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 really good. Like, one of the best RPGs ever made good. It takes lots of lessons from all the RPGs of the past, and it just makes one brilliant game. Like, you play as these two. You have a whole party of heroes, but the main two characters are solstice warriors, and one is sort of like moon-based and one's sun-based, and they have to go on a quest to save the world and all that normal jazz. But I think the sort of main theme of the story that really hits home is just sort of how like positive and nice everything feels. Like, it's not a dreary dark game. It doesn't make you feel like, don't get me wrong, there are moments where things happen, but realistically it's a game where you're just pottering around this world. The music is always delightful and charming and lovely, and you never ever want to stop listening to it. And then alongside that, you've got like really, really well refined combat. It's kind of, you can kind of sort of see maybe a bit of Octopath about it in terms of like the breaking. There are these things called locks that you do in the combat, where an enemy, when it's readying some sort of powerful move, will have like a couple of sword icons and a couple of sun icons next to it. And you know, if you use like a good sword attack and you time it right, because it has timing in the combat, like a Paper Mario or something, which is always brilliant in any RPG. There's never been a bad thing to add to an RPG. So yeah,
but that speaks to a larger thing with this game, like because it's all very well like making. Because I mean, another game that did that more recently that always jumps to my mind is the South Park games. In terms of the action button to block and enhance your attacks, and it does add another layer. But like I think like Sabotage has done that in the entirety of everything in this game. Everything's tactile. It's not just like you say. It's cool that you can defend and attack, and they've all got different timings, and each character's attack's got different timing. Like the one I won't spoil. There was a character I always struggled to get. Should we say the knife? Sometimes that would be the one where I was like, I wish I hadn't gone with that. I could have gone with an easier one. Regardless, like the world is tactile. Like it's not it's not one of those sort of that style of game where you are just running through environments. The environments are tactile. You climb, you jump off things. It's not like it's a jump button. You are, but it's just so intuitive, and it's like the whole game is tactile in that way, isn't it?
Yeah, and that moving around the world, like it always feels nice to just be hopping from platform to platform and suddenly climbing up like the little footholds on the side of a cliff and stuff like that. Like
it's because it's fast, isn't it? It's fast as well. Like, it's not a slow moving. You're not wandering around. You are moving at a clip.
Yeah, 100%, absolutely. And it just has everything you could sort of like all the things you could want from an RPG. Like it has like so much side content. Like if you want to investigate secrets, or if you're struggling and need a guide for that, there might be some on a website. But that'd be gotisageek.com. It'll all be there. Don't worry. But there's all sorts of side content. There's like mini games. There's like
wheels.
There's wheels, which is a great sort of slot machine based.
I was thinking. I mean,
thing.
We probably won't get into wheels, perhaps, because it's a whole other thing. But like, I was thinking the other day, if they released that as like a versus, like PvP mobile game. Yeah. In the way that Hearthstone exists.
Yeah, and you've got your things.
I'd
like,
play it. I think
you've got any type. One of those ones where like I know there's like digital versions of like Triple Triad and stuff like that, or Gwent and all those sorts of things. Yeah. It's one of those it's one of those RPG mini games where you could feasibly spend forever playing that game, and especially if it had that functionality for sure. But like it's just another thing that you'll be doing as you traverse the world. You've also got like there's a trivia quiz bit as well, which it's a little bit hidden, admittedly, but it won't be long before you find something that says like Quizmaster question pack, and you'll be like, what the fuck's that for? There is a ridiculous amount to this game. It's so positive. At some point, we should probably talk about Adam's favorite character of all time, who he will not stop talking about.
But like you can very easily link it into what you've just said about how it's positive. Like yes, 100%. So Valir and Zale are the main characters, the Solstice Warriors. Cool.
Yeah.
They're kind of
don't
not.
Feel like it.
They're kind of. If they are, yes, they're the main characters. Yes, they're the protagonists. Yes, they're the people that you control predominantly. But Garl is the heart, isn't he? He's the heart of the story, and it ties into that pot because if you hadn't mentioned it, I think all of us would have. But the positivity that you mentioned, like I remember, I not like super early on, but within, let's say, in the first 5-6 hours, I'm sure at least one, if not two, boss encounters, and I won't go any deeper than say that, and I won't say who they are, but like you beat them, and it's not like you vanquish them and they're dead. They're kind of all like. I'm pretty sure one of them, I'm paraphrasing, but says along the lines of, right, fine, fucking take what you came here for and go away, because like, and it's I think the word I want to say is wholesome. Like
I get that,
and I think, and we can't. It's obviously far too early. The game's just out, but like there are things in the spoilers in the story that are spoilery. I'm not going to mention them. But I think it extra earns those moments because of the legwork it puts in terms of the wholesome positivity. Like it 100%. Puts all that in so hard, and it earns. Then I'm not saying a game that looks like this couldn't get emotional payoffs, because they can, but I really feel it earns them every time it does dip into sort of the emotional waters because of how wholesome and positive it's been. And like I said, it's not just that. Well, I'm sure there's a second boss as well where they're kind of like, fine. You know, just go away now. Leave me alone. You don't kill them. There's no need to kill them. Like it's you've bested them in battle. You know, it's almost like, you know, shotguns at dawn almost. But you've won, so they're like, fine, I yield. And it's just it's such a wholesome thing. And yes, Garl is, you know, what is he? The warrior chef, and he teaches you to cook. The warrior cook.
Yeah.
And it's just. I mean, there are moments in the story where they, if you hadn't got it at some point, they literally spell out how just he can make anyone smile and be happy. They say it, like, and it is. He's just really nice, like, and it's not like, oh yeah, but if you dig under, no, he's just really nice, and he wants to be nice to people, and he wants to be friends with people, and he wants to make people happy, and it's like, I'm not saying that doesn't happen in a game. But it's rare for an entirely, like, there is no moral grey to that character. He is just nice.
Yeah, and he's also not nice in a way that's like annoying.
No.
And you're like, yeah, okay, we get it. Like he's nice, and you think like, God, what a fucking nice guy he is. He's like, he is the heart and soul of this game.
I'm being uncharacteristically quiet because there are things I want to say about this game that I want to leave till the end of the year because there are big statements I want to make about this and other games, but I agree with everything you guys have said. The one thing that I would add is the thing been reflected on this game is about how intentional everything is and how therefore well designed it feels as a whole. Like when you break down the combat, if you break down the combat for a second, you know, we haven't mentioned it, but you have a party of characters, and you have up to 3 fighting at any one time in a fight. But there could be a couple of spares, you know, just standing to the side, and they instantly tag in. Whereas normally that's a move.
That's a turn.
That's a turn.
Your turn
in any
has
other
been
game,
to swap
that's a turn you swap, and then you prepare for the next.
And
thing.
sometimes that can feel really nasty in a game like this. Like sometimes when you do it. And you like you say, you've used your turn to swap Lyle in for Chris in this, let's say. You do that. Sorry.
Yes.
But you do that, and then it's like you've used your turn, and it's like, yeah, but I didn't know that this enemy was going to be like weak to.
And this is the thing. This is why this is what I mean about it being intentional, because they do the lock system, and by being able to flex, because different characters have different moves and attributes, don't they?
And they also interact with one another with the combo system.
And they also can interact, and there's combos and those sort of things you can do, right? But what it means is that lock system that you're talking about, Lyle, becomes very fluid and part of the strategy of the combat. Because if you couldn't flex out on the fly, right? If you couldn't do that, then the only way the lock system would ever feel fair would be, well, I'm going to lock my lock symbols to the characters you've got, or I'm just, or I'm going to give you so many turns, and it's going to be so easy to just flex out the characters. Whereas what it causes you to do is go, right, hang on a minute, what combination of stuff could I use? And you can't always win. Like sometimes the lock combinations, there's too many of them, and there's not enough turns to fix them all in. But most of them, you can do something if you've saved your combo meter and all this sort of stuff, you've got a chance, right? But I think. So it's not only that, you know, there's lots of examples in this game where you can tell this is made by people who know what games are, and that games are supposed to be fun, and they've stripped out all of the shite from RPGs and just made this a really fun RPG. But more than that, they've gone, well, if we did make it so that you could swap characters out and it not cost a turn, what mechanic could we implement in a really seamless way that makes the combat really interesting and engaging and strategic without it being really overbearing? And the lock system is the way that they do that. And it's not till I reflected, there's so many examples of that. Like you mentioned the traversal, which is brilliant. Like, you know, the fact that you can, like, I mean, it's not new, but you can jump over gaps and zip over logs, and you can climb up walls and stuff and shimmy it around, and it's all animated brilliantly, and it just looks really seamless when they do it, and it's at a pace. Again, all things that are like tick, tick, tick if I'm exploring a massive world. But again, it's not just for show, because sometimes you have that, and it used to be something you used to stick on the back of a box. Oh, they can climb walls. Like, do you know what I mean? And actually, it was like, great, but you've not done anything with it. Whereas actually what you get in Sea of Stars is really clever level design, where they can either flex all of those different mechanics to create really interesting worlds, or they could be hiding collectibles behind things and use the kind of depth and perspective to hide stuff and hide secrets or caves and stuff like that. And it just gives the the world's more kind of personality and rewards the exploration rather than it just being, oh, did you know that you can rock climb in this game? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and I just feel like everything's intentional, everything's really linked in and executed really well, and they're just two little things, right? But it's examples of Sabotage just going, we know they're gamers, right? You can tell that this is gamers that love games and have really thought about what's a good time. And the whole positivity thing is in part of that as well. Like, it has to be like the way that they've written it. But yeah, I mean, I agree I don't say this often. I agree with Lyle, right? It's a 10 out of 10. We all aligned on that. We did.
I do think it's also worth noting as well, like you mentioned about how like they've stripped the meat from the bone sort of thing in terms of that. Because they actually made a mention of that pre-release. There was one of the things, and they said, you don't have to grind. And it did leave a little bit of speculation as to, well, is this like an 8 to 10 hour game then? Or is it, you know what I mean? And I do think it's worth mentioning that it isn't. It is a 30-hour game. 40 if you want to kind of see true
40
ending.
40 if you're me.
You know. Well, no, I think I was 38 when I hit true ending. So, like, and there's still stuff I could go and do should I choose to. But you don't ever grind. Ever. No, and I will say it was only in the very, very, very dregs of the game, like right at the very end, where I was basically... There's a collectible you need to get all of to be part of the like true ending. That's all I'll say about that. And I was using Chris's guides before they were live to get them. So it was only then when I was like rushing to try and I just wanted to see the true ending, where I would avoid combat.
Great.
Yeah, but what I mean is like I wouldn't. Not only did I never have to grind, I never avoided it either. Like I never, if I saw an enemy, I'm like. And in fact, I'll go one further. Sometimes you'll go and get a chest, turn around, walk back, and they'll jump on you. And I always think back to like one of my favourite games of all time is Final Fantasy VII. But when you were in the kind of end game and you were grinding or exploring or like going for the weapons or whatever, the ultimate weapons, because you couldn't see an enemy, when you got the noise and they jumped on you, I have a Pavlovian response to that even now, where there's like sometimes I just it just gets, it's like an alarm clock going off on TV and you're like, oh god, no, you shouldn't have that, because it just reminds you of getting up early for work or whatever. In this, when they jumped me, I was like, great, more combat. And I think it's kind of masterful how they've managed to make it absolutely zero grind. And also make it so that you actually, if you do get surprised by combat, you're not like, oh yeah, well you've done that because I have to level up. No, not at all. You've done that because it's just there. Like I very rarely say this. I cannot find. I can find one criticism of this game.
I can find one
minuscule,
and we agree on it. And it's not what Lyle mentioned, because actually the thing, Lyle, you mentioned in your review about the skill thing, that actually didn't bother me at all.
No, I was
and I know you mentioned it. You mentioned it to me, and I was like, okay. And I played it, and I was like, I'm not really. I'd rather that they gave me two abilities at the start.
The thing you're referring to, Chris, because that was it's in the review that Lyle said his only real negative was that it does take a little while to dole out more skills early on in the game. Once it gets going, it gets going.
And it's a really, it was the most minuscule of negatives in terms of like, I would have liked an extra skill maybe like 15 to 30 minutes sooner, and I wasn't having a bad time at all while I didn't have an extra skill.
I didn't, honestly. It got to the point where I got my first new skill, and I was like, oh. Like I'd almost like forgotten like that was
happen.
A thing, because I was having such a good time. Like the only criticism I would have, and like I say, it's very minuscule, is because everything else happens at quite a decent pace.
Yeah.
The when you're in the overworld, it's quite slow plodding.
It's on a grid you can't see.
The overworld. It's really odd. The overworld is like almost like grid movement, like like just the 4 cardinal directions, and then it's like, but also you have to sometimes get it to go into a town. You have to get the right entrance point exactly.
Square,
I mean, we're nitpicking here. Like, do you know what I mean?
Like it's trying to find something. Like I almost want to interrupt and say, hey, but also don't forget how cool they do the knockout stuff. Like, you know, in turn-based games where you get knocked out in a battle, normally it's a pain in the arse.
Oh, yeah.
In this, it's just part of the strategy, because they'll have 1 star going around their head, or 2 if it's their second time, and they'll get up automatically. Or you can heal them if you want to, but you don't have to. And if you're clever enough, you won't bother, because they'll get up in... Like, there is, for every minuscule thing, like that, and it's actually weird to me. I will say the overworld thing is weird. It's so precise, whereas the rest of the game feels so free like that. It's just a tiny complaint.
And I would say as well, like, you know, I do think the game is, I guess, if you're going to pick a side, is on the slightly easier side. But again, there's with that, there's load of these relics in the game where you can tailor your experience. So even if it is a little bit too challenging, there's relics you can pick up and toggle on and off, and it's basically a load of different random accessibility options essentially that makes the game a bit easier. Some make them harder, so you can actually make the game harder if you want to. I don't think you need to. It's not easy, but it's not. You know, we weren't dying over and over again at certain bosses or anything.
No, I feel like did you die I died 3 or 4 times in the game, maybe something like that.
Yeah, and to be honest, I died if I hadn't properly healed the party and then got jumped on by some surprise grunts. Not a big boss. I mean, but if I just left my party decimated after another fight.
I found there was one what do they call them? An ultimate skill that I found was whenever that's available, that will get everyone out of trouble in every aspect.
Let's
just say a bird, shall we say? That to be that one I found, and there were long battles where I had to use that 3 times. You know, and I'm like, wow, this is. But man, I find it so difficult to criticize anything about this game because it really feels as though someone's reached into my brain, personally reached into my brain and pulled out kind of I don't want to say the perfect game because that has connotations. And also I have always said with a game that I'm 10 out of 10 or gone on in this regard, I've always said I need a bit of separation from it. And I literally was playing on Xbox yesterday, so I haven't had that yet. But I need that little bit of time to settle on myself and think because like I say, it feels like someone has reached into my dreams and pulled out. I will say, Lyle, you said it right at the start of this discussion, and I will say this is the best RPG I can remember playing since Final Fantasy VII back when I was a kid. I can't think of anything I can't think of one that comes close. So
yeah. Listen, I'm not going to say that. I'm certainly going to leave that. The first thing I've done since playing Sea of Stars is jump back onto Octopath Traveler 2, because I haven't played it and I do want to have a very clear point of view in my mind. They're different games, but we've already discussed there are some similarities between them. And I want to check I'm not because I played it last week, that's the reason why I think it's good. But it's bloody brilliant, and it's a 10 out of 10. And there's been a fair few of those from you, Lyle, this year. There's been you've acquired some games.
I don't know how it's worked out. I think I've given out to games that have just released this year. I think I've given out 4 10 out of 10. Yeah. And then I also gave one to Vampire Survivors a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it's been a
game's
big
good. The game's good though.
The game's good. No, that wasn't meant to be.
We should say 10 out of 10 to us on our
the
side
highest
doesn't
recommendation.
Mean perfect.
No,
and you will always find a 10 out of 10. And you know what? You can't please anyone because people will see in the negative column one thing and then go, but you gave it a 10 out of 10. How can it be perfect? There's negative, and you go. But on the other hand, if you left that column blank, people would say there's no such thing as a perfect game. Just there is no way of pleasing it. What I will say is, if you literally took out, if you just made that, because you know what, there is something I do want to quickly mention. We will talk about other games. What this does is what doesn't matter of the genre. The very best of games do this, and I remember God of War Ragnarok did this with you, Mr. Hyde, is that just as you are thinking, we could just do with something, before you finish that sentence, they introduce it. And this game does that over and over and over again. Every time you would, and it's not like you're going, oh yeah, well, we've seen everything there. It's just like an ever such a slight little whisper in your ear going, it's mechanical or new party, just something. Oh, and before you've even finished the thought,
they something else to play with, isn't it? And I think, but also, it's not that's doing it a disservice. Something else to play with. It's literally it also then knows what you've got to play with and flexes the combat requirements with the locks and things like that because it knows what options you have got, and it's very considered, and that means that it's very engaging and enjoyable from start to end. And then you throw in the music, you throw in the visuals, throw in the story, and it's the complete package. And like I say, 10 out of 10, highest recommendation. Completely agree. been a year so far, and it's only August.
It's been a year, hasn't it?
There are games on my list currently that I was like, there's no way they're getting touched. They are. And then a game like this comes along and you go like, shit.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Speaking of very good games, though, let's move on to Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon, which it feels like forever ago now somehow. Like,
it does.
I'm not going to spend like hours and hours talking about this, but I was really excited to play it because I have had some experience with the series, and I'm not gonna. I can't do it. I can't be that guy that's like, oh yes, an Armored Core 4 was of course. I didn't really get on with them. I don't like them that much. But what interested me about this, of course, is it's a modern FromSoft era game. So and I do like Bloodborne and Elden Ring and a lot of their games, and I've enjoyed them like as many of us have. Christopher, I would say you enjoy them quite a lot. This is kind of not one of them, but sort of one of them. Like it only really felt like it ramps up to me in the boss battles, and the boss battles do feel very much like modern From Software boss battles. When I would argue with it's difficult, right? It's difficult to explain. It's difficult as a game. Because the difference in this game and what you would expect from a FromSoft game is you've got this mech and you've got this loadout, and that you basically can change it all the time. Like in between missions, you can change the head, the arms. I had like 2 different kinds of missile launchers. One which goes up in the air so it can get around things, and one which goes outward at a diagonal to go round. But there's like another type that I didn't even experiment with. There's all different types of just that. You could have a shield instead of a missile launcher. You got like a laser sword, a cannon. You could have a sniper, a pistol. All of this is like massively affecting your combat abilities, let alone your speed and your weight. There is more to it than that. You unlock like other things. There's like an arena where you go 1v1 with other mechs, and you get stuff for doing that. There's all this customization that really affects how the boss battles go. Like if you are repeatedly failing at a boss battle, the likelihood is you might just be struggling because it's difficult, but the likelihood is you've kind of maybe not got the right loadout, if that makes sense. And it's a little more, I mean, FromSoft games are always fairly complex in terms of the combat, but it's a little more complex than say, because let's put it this way, Elden Ring, you struggle on a boss, it's very unlikely 20 hours in you're just going to change from a melee build to a magic user.
Yeah.
It just kind of doesn't happen. Like usually the bosses are spec'd in a way that they kind of work for all builds. It's very cleverly done. And I'm sure this is the same, but there is a definite benefit in Armored Core 6 to being like, oh, I think I get what I'm not getting right here. Like, your sword is like devastating when you get in and hit them, and it will reduce their shields very quickly. But maybe you're too heavy and encumbered that you can't get in quick enough. So you might get a one off, but you're not able to get away or get in the first place. All this is affected by your loadout, and it's really, really intense and really clever.
And can you change it quite simply? Because the biggest thing with that's the biggest thing with like other FromSoft games, because it's all a lot of your build. Well, some of it's like, spells and armor and stuff. A lot of it is the points you put into your character, which is harder to respec. So
the economy is very different in this game. So every mission, it is not an open world video game where you just start and you go through it. It is structured like the other MechAssault, like the other Armored Core games, where it is mission based. You select your mission, you get a little bit of narrative about what the mission is. You go into the mission with your loadout that you've selected, and you do the mission, and that's the end of the mission. They will literally say, right, come back to base, and you'll have a few seconds to wander around, and then the screen will just fade to black, and you're back at the base. That is it. It's mission based. Okay. There's more to it. There is a story. You have to get through the first chapter to sort of really start to see anything, but there are checkpoints that you can absolutely not save scum, but you can get to a checkpoint with like 1 health kit left, or whatever they call them in this, and low health, and you can go, bollocks to it, just come and kill me, lads, and then, right, fine, now I'm right at the checkpoint before the boss with 3 or 4 health kits or whatever you need, The counter to that is that at the end of the mission, you make money. You're a mercenary, right? You're a merc. And so you get paid, but you lose money based on ammo spent, damage taken, and stuff like that. Which means if you are really struggling with experimentation, it could be a bit more difficult, if you are like, oh, I don't get it, what do I need to do on? And like, you just spend all your money on different parts and nothing's working for you because you've got the wrong. You early on, you don't really know what you need.
Yeah.
Because it's experimentation. So that's how that works. It's just really strange to me because I didn't find anything tricky about it apart from the bosses. I don't know if it comes across when you're watching it or not, but it is actually really fluid and really the movement's excellent. It's really fast paced, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoy playing it, but I do feel like every time you hit a boss, and the chapter 1 boss is like it was quite funny because Chris White, who reviewed it, was telling me about the end of chapter 1 boss is an absolute bastard, and I got to what I thought was the boss because it was like a encounter with another mech, and I was like, oh yeah, and he's got a name and everything. Yeah, come on then. And I only had 1 health pack left, and I nearly beat him. I'm like, okay. So I did him again. Next time I did him, I was like, which boss was it again? Just to be end of chapter 1, the cutscene's playing out, and I'm thinking, well, I don't know. And then I realised there's another boss after the cutscene, and that is a bastard. It's like bullet hell, and it took a long time because I didn't have the right loadout. I just didn't, and I wasn't. And there was no consistency at that level. Like I was getting to second phase where it unleashes you think there's a lot going on. Then it unleashes a bloody flamethrower on you, and it's got its own fire sword all of a sudden. You're like, I was just about coping with your rockets, mate. And I'm getting to like, he's got an inch left. He's got an inch left. That's the very FromSoft. That's what I'm getting at with the FromSoftness. He's got an inch of health left. And then the next one, it's like he killed me within the first. I didn't even get near him. And you're like, there's no consistency. Whereas I feel like with the games with less build optimization, build customization, that doesn't happen as much. Like with an Elden Ring, with a Bloodborne, you keep getting to that same point. It's overcoming that second phase because you get the first phase down. Whereas because of the customization options in this game, it's not quite as consistent in terms of progression. I do like it a lot. It's weird how is it because it's a mech game? But I know it was like number 1 in the UK, but I just don't seem to. No one seems to be chatting about it in our Discord. And it's like, I know it's not Dark Souls 4 or Elden Ring 2 or Bloodborne 2 or Sekiro 2, but it is a From Software game. And
it's weird. It's definitely just not really had that. I mean, in our circles anyway, I guess. There could be places where everyone's talking about Armored Core 6 and everyone's bloody loving it, but like I don't feel like I've really heard much about it at all, oddly. And that doesn't really feel right. Is it just that there's a billion games out there at the moment?
It could be. Look, I think it released at a good point, whereas I feel like Sea of Stars released at a bad point because it's right before Starfield. Starfield's fine, I'm sure, but Sea of Stars is, you need to make time for it. But we're not talking about that. But yeah, Armored Core 6, really good game. I will be going back to it. I haven't finished it. I don't know if I'll finish it because it is tough. It is tough. And you're either there and you appreciate that. It's fans of From and fans of Armored Core are probably going to love it because of this customization and all the options you can get really stuck into it and really optimize and customize. I don't think that's quite what I want, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not against it and I don't think it's bad. I just think it's not quite what I want in terms of the customization. I just kind of... I may be wrong again. Someone tell me. I'm sure they will. But I don't feel like with Elden Ring you can kind of go down that corridor of, within the other FromSoft game recently, you can kind of go down that corridor of I'm going in this direction with my build. I'm not getting that vibe yet from Armored Core, but yeah. A game I've played a tiny bit of, but I'm going to hand to you, Mr. Carr, is the Texas Chain Saw Massacre, which is out now. And is a isometric. No, it's not. It's asymmetric multiplayer game in the style of Dead by Daylight, or Friday the 13th. I suppose is the more apt one, isn't it, Lyle?
It is. I have a lot to say about this game. There is so much to say about this game because this game is some of the most fun I've had in a long time, especially with a multiplayer game, and also has massive problems, huge problems. One of these problems is one of the things that Adam specifically will know quite a lot about, and that's that if you're a new player to this game, fuck you. You ain't getting any help. They don't give a shit.
But like, I read, obviously, I edited your review and I saw you mention that, and like, yeah, okay, and we'd both tried to play the PC version, haven't we?
Yeah, we had tried.
Pre-release, but like multiplayer game. Do you know what? I will say, fair play to them for actually sending it out pre-release, because a lot of multiplayer games they just don't even bother. And even just being able to download it ahead of time is a nice bonus with these big games.
Yeah.
Anyway, all I could see from the pre-release version was like there's the 5-6 minute videos you can watch tutorial-wise, and I watched a couple, and then I was like, right, I can't get a game. I'll come back to this. I've seen Lyle's review. It sounds decent enough. I like these kinds of games. I expected... I don't know. Do you know, like when in Overwatch, you just press the button down and it would just tell you what the moves do?
Yeah,
that's all I want. I mean, I'm not saying that's enough. I'm saying that's what I want. I played my first game. I mean, you'll have to help me, Lyle. I was knife man. I had a knife, and a sort of no. He was like from Grease, the movie. He was like a greaser. He said something about he's
Johnny.
the only real murderer, the only real serial killer in the family, or something.
I think he's Johnny. You were probably playing as Johnny.
Probably. Now I've started out. I'm wandering around. I got a knife. I've worked that out. Right trigger, swing a knife. Sold. Got it. Okay. Press right bumpers down there is a thing. There's like a pair of footsteps. I'm like, okay, so I'll press that. The bar's reducing. I'm like, am I getting people? Is it telling me where people have been? Because that's not really helpful because I've just started, so they won't have been here. Then there's up on the D-pad, which surely, I guess, is that everyone's got that, and you can see the rest of your family. I was a bad guy, obviously. You see Grandpa to feed him his blood.
Mm-hmm, you got to feed blood to Grandpa.
That's it. That's kind of it. And I'm like, I don't know what anything is or does. Yeah. Or, I mean, I guess I'm supposed to kill these teenagers. And I did kill one of them.
So good. That to be honest, is a decent start. Well done. Pat on the back.
You've played it. What is that right bumper move doing with my footprints?
That is sort of what you were getting at. Yeah, that's a move where if you suspect someone's been around, then one single glowing footstep will appear. And if you analyze that footstep for a while, then the rest of their footsteps will appear and you follow them to find where they are.
Oh, God.
That's a lovely situational move, that is.
It's actually really, really helpful. It's a great move in the when you know how to use it and know what you're doing a little bit more, but that's exactly what that move does.
It doesn't sound like a good move to have when you start the match.
That is his move, but I mean at the very beginning, I'd say at the very beginning that's not important and necessarily a useful move. That's not true because we have now reached the point in this game where the players on the victim side have learned to mash on buttons so fast while the opening cutscene's happening that they can get out of the basement starting area while you're in a cutscene.
So just there, I didn't know that's where they were.
Yeah, they start in a basement with Leatherface, the only killer who starts in the basement. So, yeah, this happens. Leatherface is supposed to, chase them about the basement a bit while they find, lockpicks and maybe some health kits and stuff that they use later.
That's why when I went to the basement, I could shut down crawl spaces.
Yeah.
Because they would have been using them to get out. So all I was doing essentially was wasting energy because they'd already left, presumably.
Kind of, but there's also a basement exit that they might end up coming back to at some point. Or to escape the family, they can jump down a well when they're being chased and attacked. And if they fall down a well, they'll take some damage. Yeah, they'll take some damage, but they'll suddenly be down in the basement and you can't follow them down the well. So that's kind of them escaping and getting somewhere a bit less useful. So the basement's kind of it's an area you do go back to a little bit, but again, there's a lot of
question.
Yeah,
I kept noticing gaps.
Yes.
That I felt like I should be pressing a button to just. I mean, I'm a large man, and I'm looking at that going, I could score. Now, I got to one, and it told me only Leatherface can do this because it was like chainsaw. It was
there's a table that Leatherface can chop in half with his chainsaw.
That's the one. It had barbed wire near it, but there were also not just one, several kind of just
thin gaps. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm pressing every button, and I'm thinking, okay, so it's not that. Maybe I just have to walk it at a funny angle, and it'll just contact. Like in Uncharted, where you or God of War, where you hit the gap and you just no.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
So what was happening there is you weren't playing as one of the two members of the family who can fit through those gaps.
Is one of them the slim guy wearing a white shirt?
Yeah, one of them's the slim guy, and one
he
of
should
them's
have been doing
the
that
woman.
instead of kept swinging a knife at me when I was on his team. Like, I mean, what was it?
Yeah, that sounds like he was playing badly. Yeah, there are two characters that can move through the little like cat flap crawl spaces and the little thin crawl spaces, and then the other three characters can't do that. Leatherface can't go up and down ladders, but the other two killers
I mean, of course not. He's Leatherface.
He's Leatherface. Leatherface is never loved ladders. Not
it's
a lot
canon and well known he can't climb.
Yeah. So these are all a few of the things that what you were talking about there, the whole like going through gaps thing. That is kind of a very crucial part of one of the main things that I find incredibly annoying about this game, though, which is when you're trying to navigate the map. It's like they have the map is designed so it's basically a hedge maze. Like whenever you're trying to get from point A to point B, they'll be like, you go down this corridor in the house. Oh, it's just dead ends at every side. Oh, you go down this winding corridor. Oh, there's suddenly a gap that one of your characters could fit through, but not everyone. Oh, you go down another corridor. Oh, there's one of those Leatherface tables. He's not chainsawed that yet. So you'll just like, there are times where you'll press that up on the D-pad where it lets you see the family members. If you're playing with friends, they might be like, oh, I'm chasing one of them over here. Like, just come to my position and help out.
But that sounds broken because you don't surely want all of you in the same place so you can get through all these places, because then everyone else, the goodies will be over there escaping, right?
Yeah, so it's difficult. There's a lot of there are a lot of very odd issues with this game. The onboarding, like we said, the whole like it is 45 videos that you are just given in a menu and you're supposed to watch them. That's how you're supposed to learn to play this game. And then when you're actually playing the game, there's like each map has, I think, 4 escape routes that the victims can get out of. And I have played a lot of hours of this game now, loads of this game, because my partner really likes it, so I've been playing with him. I've been playing with a couple of people in the Discord. Like I've played, like, even past my review, I've played a lot of this game, and I've really enjoyed a lot of it. Like the good moments where you and someone else are suddenly like cornering one of the victims and actually get them.
I will say it was weirdly fun watching them squirm and run away, and I'm like, you're not getting away, mate. And then and I'd stabbed them a few times, and then they sort of went somewhere that I didn't know the maps well, but they went like into a really narrow place, and I'm like, oh, doggy, you made a mistake. You know what I mean? I'm getting into character. And although I will say again, I don't know if I encountered a bug. So Chris, this is going to sound really weird. And in fact, anyone who hasn't played this game, this is going to sound really weird. But you have to feed Grandpa his blood.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded weird when you said that earlier.
Yeah, no, there are buckets strewn around that have got like bits of, I mean, presumably human pieces, and you fill up. You've got like a counter, haven't you, that you fill up?
Yeah.
And you go and then you feed Granddad's blood. Yeah. I kind of figured that by killing someone, that would give me loads of blood.
It does, yeah.
So I did get a bug because their body just vanished. I killed them at a staircase and they just vanished.
You automatically get the blood for killing them. You don't have to like harvest it. So there's a chance you either had a lot of blood already,
right?
Or had gained enough, because every time you slash someone, you also get a bit of blood every hit.
Oh, that would explain it. That would.
So yeah, you might have filled up on blood.
Thank you, Lyle, for explaining that.
No, it's okay. Well, if video number 34 would have told you it, but
that's probably it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember where I was at currently. But yeah,
I worry I sound like I'm shitting on it.
Yeah, totally.
But I don't mean to.
But I also am, and also, yeah, I totally agree. I'm also
I kind of like it.
Still playing it.
Yeah,
yeah. The 4 I was talking about, the 4 exits for each map.
Yes.
They're all different. You see them all by pressing up on the D-pad, and you'll suddenly see like there's one door that looks a little bit different, and that's the one that they can open. But to open that, you'll have to figure out where there's a fuse box that they might be able to open, which could be on a different floor of the map or something like that. There's usually one which involves like a pressure like valve to be released somewhere else. So like you'll have to sort of defend that while also keeping an eye on the other exits. And like it's so much information that's so difficult to learn, especially because there's like 5 maps, and they're all massive, and things shuffle around every time you play, and there's day and night versions of all of them and stuff like that. And like,
don't you unlock more skills and stuff and perks as you play as
well?
You
get perks as well. Yeah, so you'll get things like you get like character specific perks. So like for the hitchhiker, your traps might like gather some blood when they go in them too, so you get more for your vial. You've obviously got the whole feeding grandpa thing, which the whole point of is that as you level
can we talk
him
about
up,
that? Why do you give grandpa blood? What's that about?
So when you feed him grub, grandpa, he was the greatest serial killer of all time, but now he's past his prime. I've never seen Texas Chain Saw Massacre, to be fair, so I don't know if any of this is like really obvious, everyone knows this shit, or weird game lore. Because I know they've created actual new characters that aren't in the films for this game, because they only got the license for the first film to make it sort of simpler license-wise or something. I
suspect they probably didn't want Friday the 13th to happen again,
exactly,
which is absolutely fine. I will
100%, and it doesn't take away from the game at all in terms of like because I'm playing it not really knowing the franchise.
Once you know what you're doing, I feel like this is a lot.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So you give blood to Grandpa. I still don't know.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Is it like a nuke or something, or what is it?
So you give blood to Grandpa every 100 blood, because it's counted in numbers. Every 100 blood you give Grandpa, you level him up, and when you level him up, he shouts more. And every time he shouts, you can see people through walls, but only if they're moving at the time.
Okay.
And if you get him to level 5, you can see him no matter what. So that's really helpful.
It's a mechanic.
It's a mechanic, and it's weird, and it never stops being weird. Saying stuff like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go feed Grandpa," and then you go to him, and if you're Leatherface, you sort of like put his head back upright when he's done, and give him a little pat. And that's the sort of.
I will say that I was quite surprised at how they cut away from some stuff, but like it is fairly gruesome. Like when you start a level. No, I do want to ask you about that. Don't let me forget end of a level. But very quickly, when you start a level, and like Leatherface hooks, is it always the same teenage girl?
It's always the one character they're not playing as. So there's 5 victims, and the one they're not playing as gets killed, basically.
Well, they hook them up on the meat hook, he wraps the chainsaw up, and he goes like that to do their midriff, and they cut to the floor, and then you see the blood rather than the... Anyway, it's like I said, it sounds like I'm shitting on it. Surprisingly tense. And even though sometimes it feels silly, it was surprisingly tense. And scary's the wrong word, but it's got atmosphere. Or at least I would have said that until the end.
When he does his little dance.
Okay, so that wasn't a bug, right? Well, you've answered that question, because at the end when we lost, I was the only person to get a kill, and I'm shit at these sort of games, so that tells you how bad the team was. It cut to Leatherface, like at the end of the road, I guess. Kind of doing. Do you remember in The Simpsons when the lemon tree gets stolen, and they then get it back at the end, and the equivalent of Shelbyville's Homer and Bart are there going, "Come on, boy, shake harder," and they're like really just doing that. He kind of does that with his chainsaws, and I guess if you don't know the films either, you can't tell me, but that was really weird.
He does a weird dance at the end, and it doesn't matter if you win or lose. There's no different versions of this dance. He just does this dance.
So that wasn't because we lost and he was like angry.
No, that wasn't because you dance. He just does sort of like pirouettes and shakes his chainsaw a bit, and that's what he does.
Okay,
I'm not sure why. It's entertaining. If you in his default outfit, especially if you look, it is something we noticed while we were all playing together. His legs are really skinny compared to his top half of his body, and that's quite amusing.
I have no further questions, because I was going to ask it was that some sort of bug?
No,
but no, that
just happens. Yeah, there's a lot to the game, and it's a very odd game, and it has a lot of big problems, but it's also quite fun. And a lot of these sort of like asymmetric horror games, when they end up doing well and lasting a long time, and this seems to be doing really well in terms of like, I've heard a lot of like big numbers being thrown around for how many people have been playing it and how it's done on Game Pass and all that sort of stuff, because it's on Game Pass, so you can download it and play it, now. That's fine, nice and easy. Like once these games, have been around for a year, 2 years, like Dead by Daylight, for example, is literally nothing like it started. It's practically a different game at this point. Like there were so many things they had to change and shuffle about and balance and all that sort of things. Like I've seen videos of like early Dead by Daylight before I was playing, where like everyone will escape within like 2 minutes because they've all got some broken combination of something and no one really knows what they're doing. And yeah, it's if this has the legs to carry on for a long time, which I hope it does, because I am enjoying playing it despite the things we've said. Like there's no saying that they won't go back and put in some sort of like actual playable tutorial instead of watching 45 videos.
I wish I could say no, but Lyle, no, there's no. You're absolutely right. I'd like to play it. I'd like to have like a good old night on it and play with you guys, and like I think it would be a lot of fun. And I think having someone like yourself who knows what you're doing, you could
100%. It's when we haven't known as much as we do now about what we're doing, like me and Kieran from the Discord, like we will sort of slowly accrue little bits of information and have fun doing it as you play, because you're playing with your mates and stuff.
Yeah,
it really does work in a multiplayer setting like that.
It reminds me of when like you guys first came to Overwatch. And it's like, and Steve was the same from Discord. Look, I constantly asking questions, but that's fine because the game's been out in some form for 5+ years. This is just a brand new game, so everyone's kind of okay,
totally.
But yeah, I mean, you can read the review on God is a Geek of all 3 of these games actually that we've mentioned. But on that note, it's Mr. Hyde's time to shine, isn't it?
Let's do it. Chris Hyde, listen to Correspondence. It's time. Chris Hyde. Okie doke. So kicking us off this week is McPoo, and this first question is specifically for Lyle, and it's how long until you get replaced with Steve on the pod?
It's not going to happen. Never. It's I would have to die is the answer to that. He will not replace me. He can be on the pod. I mean, it's not my decision if he joins the pod, I guess. But I mean, he's not replacing me. He can be another sort of lesser co-star.
Star. It's the use of the word star that I particularly liked. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, the rest of the questions are for all of us. So McPoo asks, you're at a standard hotel breakfast buffet, hot food, continental, juices, etc. What goes on your plate? I'm very passionate about this question.
Everything.
Is this still a trick question?
No.
Well, you answer it then.
Hash browns.
Oh, just hash brown. Okay, right.
Okay. No. So listen, right. So we've talked about this a little bit in our bonus Patreon podcast, the chopping board. And if you want to become a Patreon for just $1 a month, you get exclusive access to this bonus podcast where we chop food from existence, and we all argue and sometimes have fun and occasionally agree. But yeah, I'm passionate when it comes to food, and one of the defining facts of how good my stay in a hotel is whether or not they have 1, hash browns.
That is
2,
really important.
HP brown sauce. If they have both those things, it's again at least a 4 out of 5 on TripAdvisor. If I ever wrote a TripAdvisor review, but like I will be like if it has a like an English breakfast and it doesn't have hash browns, it's a sack of shit in my opinion. It's not. So that's why I'm like that for me is like what goes on my plate. Well, let's see if it's got hash browns first, and we'll talk.
Hash browns are great though. So
hash browns are great.
The reason I asked a trick question is because like I basically would get myself a full English at the buffet.
Yes, okay.
And I'd perhaps have a croissant after.
So once I've got my rant out of the way I'm doing this is I will, depending on how I feel, I occasionally will peruse the cereals. And maybe
no one's eating the cereals.
I do.
I would never.
You're the guy. I've seen guys doing that and been like, "You're not impressing anyone, mate." And now I realise you're the guy.
I'm not doing it. Oh yeah, I'm here to pick up ladies. I'm here to pick up ladies. The Weetabix ladies.
Oh, you go Weetabix. You don't even go like just Cheetos or something that are just knocking around. You're like
Cheetos.
Well, I don't know. Whatever they got knocking
around. Breakfast spot. You mean Weetos?
Probably.
Or Cocoa Pops.
Yeah, them.
No,
but anyway,
not the thing that's like Whatsits.
yeah. Anyway, so sometimes I'll peruse, but most, to be clear, most of the time I don't, and then I'd go full English.
Yeah.
I'm assuming toast is being brought to my table.
I would.
Because I tell you what, I do
at a standard hotel breakfast buffet.
Those fucking slow toast
that's what
machines.
I would presume you're getting at this.
Oh god, they're an abomination. They are.
They're fun.
You
they're
put
like
it
a fun
through
little
once,
conveyor
and
belt.
it's like stale bread. You put it through a second time, cremated. There's no in between with those fucking things.
But like, there's some things you have to kind of a standard hotel breakfast buffet. I think you're going to have to go with
standards
it.
you have, I suppose.
Oh,
yeah, and we all know what standards he has, don't we?
So okay. So I'll get toast.
Filleting while he's eating his breakfast.
Another tick will be if they have those little portions of Marmite, because most hotels don't. That would be another. That getting you a 5 out of 5 on TripAdvisor if you've got Marmite as well. But yeah, I'd have an English, no egg, no tomato.
Yeah.
Hotels tend to be the time I'd have black pudding. If it's there, I'll go, I'll have a bit of black pudding. So it'd be sausage, bacon, beans, all the hash browns, black pudding. Have I missed anything?
You've already had mushrooms. You're hoping it's been brought to you.
Might have mushrooms. If there's fried bread, I'm putting the beans on the fried bread.
Yeah.
Because that's the best way to eat fried bread. What's the question? And then I'm always having apple juice. Rather than orange juice.
That for me is because it's the only way I can be sure it's a smooth drink.
Yes, yeah. I find apple juice very consistent. Orange juice, it could be great or absolutely fucking terrible. So I'll just always go apple juice.
Yeah.
And then with regards to the rest, it depends how full I am. Like sometimes I might have like the continental like cheese and meat stuff, or I might go pastries. Depends what's on offer. Depends how full I am, how much I've caned the hash browns, or if there are any to start with. But yeah, I'm always having a full English if it's there, and then you kind of supplement and top up depending on how hungry you are with the other stuff.
Well, that's all we got time for this week, everyone. I'm afraid
that's the end.
It's his own fault because he's asked me. I've got all fucking blurry.
You have got all blurry, yeah.
He's asked me a food question. Like this is like my special.
Yeah, no, it is.
It's no fucking fault.
It's important. We have to talk.
I mean, how different is your answers to mine?
Well, I already said mine. I mean, I don't know about you. You go, Lyle.
Yeah, I aim at basically any buffet in existence to have as much variety as is physically possible. That's my general aim. So I will have maybe a bit less of things than I might have necessarily planned to have. So like I might have 2 hash browns to start with at least, and not like 4, which would be the amount that, you know, if I'd maybe had everything first, that would maybe be what I'd go for. But I aim to have a little bit of everything. The only exception to this is I'll always get more egg in some form because I am. I always want, especially the ideal is I love scrambled egg in basically all its forms, and I think that sometimes at the right buffet, the scrambled egg can be like, the best bit. And I mean, what was really good is the last time I really had this experience, it was in Lithuania, and there was a bit of weird shit going on as well. So you had
some of your pictures had like some interesting stuff on.
So you had things like one of their things they seemed to like there was they'd have a cheese that had cubes of jelly in it, and I don't know why it had cubes of jelly in it, but it was kind of exciting. Or there was one day, the best day there, was they had like, you know, like you sort of like your supermarket like cheese twist like bakery thing. It was that, but instead of cheese in it, it had like herbs and garlic. That was really good. It was really fresh. But yeah, I just aim to have everything.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same, although I do skip the cereal. Like I'm not.
I also skip the cereal. That's the only thing that I don't try to.
There's just no need for that, and I don't mind having a bit of extra toast with those little jam portions or Nutella or Marmite or whatever. I don't mind that, but generally speaking, I don't think you can really. I can't look past a full English breakfast, and I tend to try and squeeze a croissant in or a pain au chocolat at the end or something like that. But yeah, that's it. Usually a dreadful coffee.
Oh, yeah, agree. Are you going to bother building ships and bases in Starfield, or does that stuff not interest you?
I'll tentatively give it a go. I'm probably not that arsed. If it's like really in-depth customizing for not much reason, I'll can't be bothered.
This is the thing for me. Like, I'm never bothered generally about cosmetic stuff. So, like, if there's not a purpose to it, or it's really like in depth and you have to spend hours and hours on it for any sort of return, I'll probably park it. But I'll always give it a go. I gave the little base building stuff a go in Fallout 4, but then
that's what pushed me away from Fallout 4 because I love those games.
I then said this isn't worth it for what you're getting, so like I moved away from it.
But my understanding is, and we haven't played it, so we can't comment.
No.
Is that that sort of stuff is a bit later in the game, and that suits me fine.
Yeah, that does.
I would rather get some proper gaming and because I'm not against like base building and shipbuilding, but that's not what I go to these games for. Like, I'm not playing. If I'm playing Astroneer, that's all I want to do is build a cool base and storage and all that shit. But I'm not really going to a sort of Bethesda game for that. No. So I don't want to say it doesn't interest me, but I also just don't think it ever really works that well with a controller. So it's kind of always fiddly. So that's kind of what I'm not that into it. I'll try it, of course I will. But
I always feel like with the base building, I can never quite do what I want. Like
exactly that. Like the snapping's never quite right, and it just isn't. Yeah. Or
like you haven't got the right pieces yet unlocked that you want to put together or whatever, and I just find it's not like. So I always end up going for the most basic stuff, like the most functional thing, and then move on. But okay. Asymptote asks, thoughts on the PS Plus price increase? Personally, not worth it based on what you get. I've ended up turning off auto renew. Won't sub again unless I find a good deal.
It's an odd one, isn't it? This because I'm with him, and I kind of don't. I feel like it's really odd timing from PlayStation to say like we're going to up the price, because that's the sort of thing you do when you're... Listen, for all the jokes we have about like free games and stuff and Game Pass, like Game Pass can up the price a couple of quid and go and you go, well, every month there's something. Like there's always something, and usually it's like 4 or 5, and then you'll even go like, well, actually, I might just try that. Like, you know, like recently, for example, Sea of Stars, which in fairness is PlayStation Plus 2, the premium tiers. But with Xbox, you've got Starfield, obviously. I don't think you can quite count that. It's in a different category, but it is part of Game Pass. It is.
Yeah.
You know, you've got Sea of Stars, you've got Starfield. Everspace 2 went into Game Pass recently. There are others I'm forgetting.
Texas Chain Saw Massacre.
Texas Chain Saw straight into Game Pass. And not for nothing, like I felt like playing Celeste, and it was in Game Pass. So I didn't have to download it on Switch again and play it on my big TV. Like, this Netflix for games thing, like it or dislike it, is not really relevant here, but Microsoft are doing it very well, whereas Sony are late to it, and I just don't like the justification for the price increase. Doesn't like it's getting hard to apologize for some of the sort of, like, the whole world is going up, like, you know, whether it's mortgage or your rent or your electricity or your gas, everything, Netflix, Spotify, everything you subscribe to, whether you have to or you choose to, is going up. And the only people who can really get away with doing that are the people who are like, well, you need us. Like, you have to pay us. It's British Gas or whatever, or it's electricity. You need us. If you're going to do that as a service where someone's choosing to subscribe, you have to sort of make them feel like they're maybe getting a boost. You have to give a good explanation, and I don't think just saying, this is the way we can continually deliver, when you don't hear an awful lot of talk about how brilliant the service is. Now, I've no issue with it, and it's a difficult one for us situationally, because most games added you've played at some point for the job, so to speak. It just, like he says, it just personally not worth it based on what you get. It's that for me, like, it's just it seems really tone deaf.
Yeah, I always felt like, obviously the PS Plus online stuff, you know, the access to online stuff is the only thing I do. I don't do any of the higher tier stuff, because, like, even at the old prices, I was like, I know, like I say, we're in a slightly different position, but even when I take a step back and go, well, do I think it's worth it? I kind of wasn't really like thinking it was amazing value for what it is, because a lot of it's old stuff but some of my mates were like, this is really good because I haven't played all those games, and therefore it allows me to do it. So I think for certain people it's really good, but for me, I wasn't blown away by it. And then to up the price like they have, I'm like, well, I really don't think it's something I'm going to go for now. It's if I ever was considering upgrading my tier, I'm definitely not going to now. So yeah, I get what I'm saying. Like, I can get, and I think people might do that, because there will be some people that just aren't aware it's gone up, and they kind of get the residual.
Do you not think, like, even if they just done a $5?
Yeah, I do think the jump is a bit.
It's a big old jump
piss as well. To be honest,
I look at the tiers, and the lowest one is like 50. I think it's $59.99. I want to say the lowest one.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
and that's like it ain't cheap, but that's for a year, and it's all right, I guess. But then you're jumping into like the top tier there. It's over £100.
Yeah,
and I guess I wouldn't find it so objectionable, but it is like your console's expensive, but so's the Xbox. No problem. PSVR is expensive. It's probably the best on the market. I don't have a problem with the price of that thing. It is the best. I think the best VR solution, but it is expensive. Then you put out a controller, probably the best controller I've used, but it's very expensive. And at this point, you're already like, how much more disposable income do our users have? And they announced the PlayStation Portal, which was called the Q, which again is, and again, it's a really niche thing. It's not like, everyone's going to want that. I do wonder how they'll market that and position that, because I do wonder if people will go into shops and like, you remember the old thing of like, Granny's going to go and buy FIFA, but she's bought the wrong one. She's bought PES and she meant, because she wanted the football game, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I do wonder how many people are going to get that under a tree and go, but I don't have a PlayStation. What's the point of this? I don't have a PS5.
Yeah.
Oh, is there a PlayStation? Oh, you thought this would... Oh, okay. Do you know what I mean? They keep... And then there's the new headphones and the new headset. It's all good. Like, all the tech they put out and all the stuff they do. And there's nothing wrong with PlayStation Plus. Like, it all works as it should. But, like, it would be... I mean, I'm living in dreamland. It would be kind of nice if just once one of these companies kind of went, you know what, we're going to be the good guys here and we're not going to do it. Just once. It's an easy win as well. They can't be hurting that much. They can't be. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm in a situation where I'm just so sick of getting letters in the post or emails about things are going up. Like, it is a weekly thing. It is a weekly thing now where people in the UK can't speak for the whole world. And I know we have listeners from outside the UK, but I can't speak for everyone. I can speak to where I live, where I'm sick and tired of every week at the moment something is going up. Yeah. And like at some point, someone's got to be the good guy and go, you don't actually need this. So we're just not going to do it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. It'll be interesting because I think a lot of people will act with their wallets on this one and they will have to react. Or maybe they won't.
Yeah.
Also true.
Okay, Mick's sent through a load of questions, so we'll rattle through some of these. So the first are for all of us to ponder over. What game are you looking forward to playing in September and October that you will not be reviewing for sure, but will play for, for fun?
Can we answer that? Because it's a bit like, I'm sure people will have guessed, but if I don't say Super Mario Wonder, people will go, well, Adam's going to be reviewing Super Mario Wonder. I mean, I've not got it, so I can't get myself in any trouble. But you know what I mean? Like, is he...
I think if we just take it, because we don't know who's reviewing everything, because things change, right, all the time sometimes.
Yeah, true.
But I think if we just say what games are we looking forward to in September and October.
Okay, let's do September.
Super Mario Wonder.
Yeah,
Mario Wonder.
Let's do September first. Let's do September. What game are you looking forward to?
Have you got the one website open?
Yeah, but that's like September's busy, right? I'll go through them for September, and you tell me if anything comes out. We can count Baldur's Gate 5, Baldur's Gate 3 on PlayStation 5 if you want. NBA 2K24, Anonymous Code. I mean, Lyle will be reviewing that if we get it. Synced, Fae Farm, Super Bomberman R2, The Crew Motorfest, Mortal Kombat 1, Bait and Kaitos 1 and 2 HD Remaster, Gloomhaven, Lies of P, Men of War, Witchfire, Payday 3, Eternites, Cyberpunk's DLC, My Time at Sandrock, Infinity Strash, Pizza Possum, Cocoon, and EA Sports FC24. That's September.
So
EA Sports FC24. I remember looking at this. Sorry, Chris, but I remember looking at this just going, actually, I'm all right. September's not got too many I'm fussed at. I've just read that and I'm furious.
Yeah, so EA Sports FC24, I'll be playing loads of and probably won't be reviewing it. And Mortal Kombat 11.
Fair.
Yeah, I think of those, I think the only one there's a decent chance I will play and not just definitely be reviewing is probably Mortal Kombat, because I like the Mortal Kombat games. Like, I always find them quite easy to manage as a fighting game and usually like have a lot of, story stuff and that sort of thing. So yeah, maybe that.
Just to change it up, I'll go Cocoon because I think that looks really cool, and I'll go Payday 3. I'm going to pick 2 because Payday 3, like I actually saw, Xbox were doing those live streams during Gamescom. They did like a presentation with the devs, and it was pretty bad. Like it didn't I think there was from what I understand, I think there was like some latency between the controller and because obviously the way it was all set up at Gamescom. So there was a moment where he was trying to just jump this gap and it took 9 attempts because he couldn't make the jump, and it wouldn't, because if you're running and there was latency, like jumping's one of those things. But there was something about it. I was like, I could see myself sitting down in an evening and playing this with mates and it being really fun. Not like, oh, this is 10 out of 10, but just being really fun.
Yeah.
October, really I can't read all these out. I can't. It's about twice what I just lit.
Yeah.
Fuck it. It's our podcast. October 2023. Silent Hope, Battle Shapers, Station to Station, Warhammer 40k, Dark Tide, Hellboy, Web of Weird. Is it Weird or Word? WYRD.
Yeah,
Weird.
I'm not sure.
Hellboy, Wordless. No, Worldless. The Gap, Cricket 24, Disgaea 7, Detective Pikachu Returns, Forza Motorsport, Assassin's Creed Mirage. By the way, I'm not halfway yet. River City, Rival Showdown, Lords of the Fallen, Endless Dungeon, Sonic Superstars, Hot Wheels Unleashed 2, Overpass 2, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, City Skylines 2, Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1, The Lord of the Rings Return to Moria, Just Dance 2024, Alone in the Dark, Ghost Runner 2, Alan Wake 2, Jusant, I'm not sure if that's how you say that, or Jusant, and Headbangers Rhythm Royale. Jusant. Yeah, probably.
I don't know. Shit, there's a lot of games there. Okay, Assassin's Creed, Lords of the Fallen, Super Mario Wonder. There was others that you said that I was like, I will play those. Like, but
I think Spider-Man's on everyone's.
Spider-Man's
it's like
yeah. There was others that you said that I can't remember, but there's 4.
Yeah, there were loads. Alan Wake 2, I'm excited.
Alan Wake 2 was going to be mine.
That's an interesting one for sure. But there's a bit too many on that list, isn't there? Really, when you.
I probably won't be the one reviewing Forza, and I really do want to play it. I'd like a racing game, and I think they look great, and I'd like to. But do you know what? No, we can't get into it because I'll just be listing all those games again. It's pointless. So yeah, that I'll say Alan Wake 2. I'm going to say Alan Wake 2 because I fucking love Alan Wake and Control, and I like Remedy, and I really want that to be good.
I haven't played Alan Wake, but Control was fucking phenomenal. So, and I played the DLC that leans to it a bit, like can't remember what it's called now, but yeah, I'm up for that. Right, let's move on. Sorry.
No, I was going to quickly say Alone in the Dark as well.
Alone in the Dark is the other one. Yeah. What is worse, jalapeno on pizza or sugar in coffee?
What is worse?
I am basically happy with I generally don't have sugar in like most coffee, but then at the same time, most of the time I end up getting a coffee. Like it'll just be when I'm out and about because I don't really drink it that regularly, and I'll get a popcorn frappuccino. And let's face it, that's got a lot of sugar in, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. My answer is sugar in coffee, just because I don't have sugar in my coffee when I'm making.
Oh,
well,
coffee, that's
yeah.
So, I can't answer this because I like both of these things.
I don't. Like Lyle says, I don't dislike like a sugar. If you're buying that type of coffee, a sugary coffee.
I mean, I'll answer
like caramel macchiato or something
because but I could live without jalapeno on pizza. I like it, one sugar in my coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably the same, just because...
The good thing is, this isn't the chopping board. We don't need to agree.
Nope.
Right, we all need to agree. This is how it works now. Yeah. All food things.
Okay, favourite Nespresso flavour and favourite Nespresso regular coffee brand. I have to defer to this because I don't have an Nespresso machine.
Oh. But no, hang on a minute. That makes it sound like I'm the posh one. You've got a much posher coffee machine than me, Christopher.
Yeah, I know. That's going to be a coffee question for me later.
Okay,
and I've
fine.
just got Tassimo pods.
No, I've had Tassimo as well. Nespresso, I like the... Oh, Christ, I told him this. I'm sure I DM'd him this. It's a green one. There you go, the green one.
It was a
Peruvian green one. Yeah. It's about mid to...
He needs to pay attention in Discord.
Yeah.
Looking back at 2023 so far, would you replay any game you've played if you had time?
Already am, mate.
Yeah.
See your stars. Already done it.
As soon as you bloody finished it.
Yeah. No, I waited a couple days.
I'd replay Resident Evil 4 remake on a higher difficulty now. I bet that'd be a lot of fun.
That is fair.
I think I'd have a good time with that.
It's the if you had time thing, because I'm looking at the thing going, I have got so many games I need to finish and start that I'm just like, what would I play again?
What would you play again? Because this podcast is audio form, mate.
Yeah, I'm thinking. You could talk.
Think a bit. No, I need. I've answered.
Have
you said Sea of Stars.
Sea of Stars.
Oh, so I can't say that either.
You can have the same game. Fine, I'll say Zelda then.
I'd have another go through Dredge. I'll have a second answer if you want. I love Dredge.
It's not hard. I mean, he's asking you what game you really like.
I can't think of the games I've played.
Just play Sea of Stars again. Just play it over and over again for the rest of the year. That's what you need to do.
That was boring. Same answer as Adam.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on record and say I don't even understand this question you're about to ask. So
no, I don't. Do you cover your consoles when not in use? No, because I don't live in an abandoned, haunted house. Like, what the fuck is this question? Like,
what?
No, I don't put dust sheets over my consoles when they're not in use. What do you mean?
Weird. That's a bit much. I wipe them down sometimes a bit. I'll dust them.
I mean, I'll be completely transparent that I have used my Xbox Series X as a shelf recently because it hasn't got much use.
Wow.
But like, no, I don't cover them purposely when they're not in use. No, and I don't know who does, and they're weird if they do.
Adam.
No.
Okay, good. Just checking.
No,
you haven't said anything.
I just don't understand. No.
No, that's fair. That's a fair reaction.
No.
Okay, on to Adam's questions. Okay. Now that you've played Sea of Stars, will you play Chained Echoes? I like the latter more so far.
That's a very fair statement to make. You're wrong, and no, because I don't have time, and it was a game from last year that I played and enjoyed, just didn't enjoy it as much as everybody else, and I prefer Sea of Stars. So no,
it's also like well longer than Sea of Stars.
I did also get the impression already. Yeah, I did get that impression too.
Do you think the first chapter and tutorial in Armored Core 6 were done better than those parts of the Souls games?
Kinda. Because it's weird. It sort of starts off almost cold open style, and there's a enemy that's fairly tough. And then it goes into tutorial. So it's like, well, we wanted to skill check you first to make sure you're supposed to be here, and then they did the then they do a tutorial, and it's much better. Yeah.
Okay. Why did you make Mick give Baldur's Game of the Year 3 only 9.5?
I didn't make Mick do anything.
Nobody can make Mick do anything.
No, exactly. Okay. You can't really answer this next question. You can try if you want.
You can ask it.
Sea of Stars or Tears of the Kingdom?
Well, to find the answer to that out, you will have to tune in December when we do the Game of the Year deliberations. I will say, I never thought that would even be a question that would be in my mind. So,
yes.
Game of the Year is going to be
how exciting for the end of the year.
Yep. So, yeah, I'm not answering it.
It's going to be an interesting end-of-year conversation, I think. And then final question, thoughts on the Aki trailer for Street Fighter 6?
I don't really have any. I mean, I want to go back to that game. That probably should have been my answer, to replay that game. Freaky design, kind of like what they're leaning into with like all the sort of poison fingers and stuff, and like interesting, I guess. Interesting. Need to see what she's like to play personally, but yeah, interesting. Your questions now.
I haven't read these, so I haven't been prepared.
Favourite DLC of 2023 so far?
Played a DLC in 2023? I'm trying to think if I have.
God, I don't know what my answer would be for this.
Have I played any DLC?
Might you play the Turtles DLC?
I might do. It looked really interesting, actually. So I might play that because it's a good game. But I can't answer that because I haven't played any DLC this year. I know what he's fucking getting at.
Yeah, we all know what
he's getting at every week.
Bit of Xenoblade.
Yeah. Are you planning on playing Lies of P?
Yes.
Fair enough. Are you going to play Baldur's Game of the Year 3 on PS5 this weekend?
No.
Fair enough. Just people are wondering, that's because the early access. I'm glad no one asked that question because that would have been here a long time. I have strong feelings about this paying for early access. Well, whatever. I'll be getting a coffee that you recommended in a day. Sorry, I'll be getting the coffee you recommended in a day. Do you have any recommendations for a compact coffee grinder? Fucking what have we become on this podcast?
This is what you get when you bring Chris Hyde on as a full-time host.
Yeah, I don't have like a miniature coffee grinder. Like I don't grind. The machine grinds the coffee for me, so I don't.
The man expects toast brought to him. He's not grinding his.
Yeah, I'm not one of those people because you can get like the presses and the little
Yeah.
coffee massage things and stuff. I don't do that.
Sorry,
I just press
no.
a button on
Coffee
It's like the
massage things.
Well, I don't know what the official name of it is, but you know the little kind of metal thing that you kind of move your coffee around in before you press it down. Do you know what I'm talking
cafetiere?
about? No. It's like for people that like have ground coffee in their coffee machines. You kind of, I don't know why you do it. I imagine it improves the flavor, but you kind of, it looks like a head massager thing. But
the little ball.
No, it's not the ball that they pour it over. That's different. It's
like a little ball
spikes
on the end of a metal. Oh no, I've no idea.
It's
what
like little spikes like that you kind of mesh it around in. I don't know what it's called. Stephen knows.
Sort of messes it about a bit.
Yeah, but then you press it
don't
down.
Like that. Don't like the sound of that.
No, but no, I don't because I don't do that. I press a button on my machine, it grinds it for me.
Yep. So you don't know. So the answer's no.
The answer was no. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Back to you then, Chris.
Okay, Lyle. Nice Rhapsody review. I'm going to butcher this. Are you planning trying out Taito Milestones 2 as another retro re-release?
Spot on that.
All right. If it gets sent to me, I'll play it. I don't really. I can't say that I've looked into it that much. I imagine it's a collection of some sort. It's some sort of milestone games. I don't know what it is. So I'll play it if it comes to me, but otherwise, maybe not unless something changes. Sure. That's an answer.
Okay. So he's got some quick fire ones for you now. You're not allowed to think. You've just got to give your first answer.
Okay. Got it.
Music. Sea of Stars or Chained Echoes?
Sea of Stars.
Visual. Sea of Stars or Chained Echoes is the theme.
Ooh, Sea of Stars.
No thinking. Well,
combat uniqueness. Sea of Stars, Chained Echoes.
Chained Echoes.
I don't understand this last one. Coffee with espresso or with sugar? Isn't a coffee what?
Espresso. I can't think. I don't know, but sure. We've picked one. I don't know.
I don't understand that question. An espresso is a coffee. Are you going to play Baldur's Game of the Year 3 on PS5 this weekend?
Can I just say, it alarms me how much you've adopted the... Because when I tried to say that, I still called it Baldur's Gate. It's rolling off your tongue.
I've had to do it about 6 weeks running,
okay,
to be
fair.
Yeah,
okay, no,
He's had it's been full time for you of saying Baldur's Game of the Year 3. I would like to play it. I'm waiting to see if anyone else would like me to play it before I decide to spend money on it. Thanks, but yeah, I would.
Oh, there's a fish. You didn't say Adam's face then with the realization of what he was saying.
To be honest with you, I'm still reeling from the previous question. Espresso.
Coffee. Yeah, I know. I don't get it. It'll come in Discord and explain it.
Do you know when you see those things that are kind of simple, but your brain can't cope with them? It's one of them. Like, I'm reading it, and I don't get it.
It was like a question of do you make a coffee by putting hot water on an espresso, or do you do it by putting hot water on sugar? Was the two answers I saw.
I can say if you're having a coffee, would you rather have a double espresso or a single with sugar? I can understand that, but that's not what he's asked.
I'm still confused.
We don't know.
So the answer is maybe if you get given it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's the answer for this weekend anyway. I'd like to play it regardless.
Yeah,
but
to be clear, my answer was I'm not going to play it specifically this weekend.
Yeah, 100%.
I still want to play it.
So,
and then finally from Steve, with the news of the Xbox 360 marketplace shutting down in 2024,
which by the way, this is news. I'm hearing this now. This is breaking to me.
Okay, strap in, folks, for the reaction. What game or games would you recommend that players grab before it's potentially gone forever? Love you, bye.
Missplosion, man.
I don't even know what's on it. I
don't know what's on it that isn't just everywhere else.
I presume Shadow Complex. No, Shadow Complex got released on PC, didn't it? Because that was superb. Alien Hominid is getting remade. Well, re-released, isn't it? They announced that Alien Hominid HD, so I can't use that. I think Missplosion. I don't know if that's anywhere else. Missplosion Man's a phenomenal game.
I bought Left 4 Dead 2 as the last Xbox 360 marketplace game I bought because I couldn't find the disc, and it's quite handy to have, and that'll be gone at some point. So you could buy that for the convenience of playing a great game.
I was just say it won't work because you could buy a disc of it. What was the Kinect game that was by the Child of Eden?
Oh yeah,
does that sound like a real thing?
That does sound like
the one
the
good
Res
Kinect
one.
game. Yeah, it was by them. Yeah, Ubisoft published it. But yeah, for me, Explosion Man. So, yeah. What about you, Chris?
I don't know, mate.
Okay,
I never had a 360.
No, fair enough. Sorry.
Spelunky was on it. I played it. That was part of a summer.
Oh, you can get Spelunky elsewhere.
I know. You can just get all these games everywhere else. I don't know.
Yeah. Shit question, Steve. Cheers. Love you. Bye. Play the jingle.
Sorry, jingle. Yeah.
Chris Hyde. Listen to Correspondence. It's time. It's time. Chris Hyde.
And that is the end of episode 531. Just to say, really, that if you've enjoyed this podcast, make sure you click the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube and the bell icon so you're notified of when... These videos normally go up a little bit before we're live, so you've got a bit of notification of when we're going to do that, and then it'll go ping again when it goes broad on the Monday when the podcast always goes out. But we do so much more. Video reviews, interviews and stuff you'll find on the main website, godisageek.com. And if you really do enjoy it enough that you want to meet, the people who've sent a lot of these questions in are on Discord, which you can find via patreon.com/godisageek, all one word. And you can sub up or subscribe up there for $1 or £1 a month and get access to all that stuff. You can follow us on all the social social media. We're all on there. All us young people are all on there.
Did you say social mediums last week as well?
I think I did, mate. Yeah,
you're an old man.
I'm getting old. Like there's no. I can't even. I am. And what I would also add is that if you are playing games like Sea of Stars this week and enjoying them, there's a lot of mystery in that game, and you can go to godisageek.com and click the guide button at the top there, and you will see loads of Sea of Stars guide, including How to Win at Wheels by Lyle, including How to Get the True Ending by Mr. Hyde, and How to Beat a Boss, which I did. And fishing, I did fishing. I did the fishing stuff.
We did fishing.
Oh yeah, fishing's great.
It was a cooperative effort.
Sure. And on that note, do come back next week when we'll be talking probably about some Starfield. I was going to talk about some Firewall Ultra this week and PSVR 2, but we'll perhaps talk about that next week. I think Goodbye Volcano High next week, probably, Lyle?
Yeah, sure.
Why not? Why not do it? Why not do that?
Fuck it.
But yeah, we'll probably have some thoughts on Starfield by next week as well. So thank you very much for watching, listening, however you consume this podcast. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff that the young people talk about. Do make sure you rate us on iTunes or Spotify or Podbean or Christ knows where else you can get podcasts these days. Thank you to Chris and to Lyle and to everybody else. We'll speak to you next week or whenever you choose to listen. Bye-bye for now.